Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Tuesday's Ask Me Anything. My name is Constable Michelle Smith, and I am part of the West Region Recruitment Unit. And just a little bit about my history with the OPP. I started back in 1998. I did about 8 years on the road, and then I moved into community services and media relations. Did that for about 2 years. Went back on the road as the second in command for the platoon when the sergeant was off. And then I obtained a position as the domestic violence investigator, and I did that for another 2 years. And then I obtained a position as a detective in our crime unit, and I was a detective in our unit for 8 years. And after doing that for 8 years, I needed to take a step back from that role, and that's when I moved into recruitment. So I've been around the block a few times, and now at the tail end of my career, and just absolutely loving recruiting. And we're obviously here to help prepare everybody, get everybody, thinking about putting their application in and making some suggestions. But we have a special guest today. Melanie, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. My name's Melanie Yates. I'm at the North Bay Communication Center. I started there in 2001, and I've been a call taker, dispatcher, coach for 22 years now. I'm currently on a temp assignment with the recruiting center of our unit. So thanks for having me. I am here to answer any questions. It is also the National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, so I would like to give a shout out to all the communication centers. We have 4 across the province. We have Thunder Bay, North Bay, Orillia, and London. Our communicators are always available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're there answering every call, making a difference, and shout out to them this week.
I have to say, for my days on the road, I was always so appreciative of our communication, our dispatchers, because I know how tough their job is with all of us demanding, at the time prior to us having the MDTs in our cars, we would, be asking our dispatcher to run all the stuff for us. And I can say a very much thank you to all the dispatchers that have dispatched me over the years. They are the absolute saving grace, and I don't know how you guys do it. What kind of requirements are needed in order to apply to that type of position?
We don't require any special training or any diplomas. If you're 18 years of age and have your high school diploma or equivalent, you're eligible to apply. We are seeking bilingual operators. However, unilingual, we're quite happy to have you as well. And we provide all the training. We send you away for training, and we set you up with a coach. So we're very committed to having our new candidates succeed, and we're looking for new applicants.
And when people are applying, what kind of job history or employment history do you think kind of helps them towards this career?
For members from all walks of life, people that have worked in a high stress environment, like in restaurants. We know that wait staff and or cooks, they know how to handle a busy environment. They can multitask. We're looking for those people. We have people from the health professions, dental. We have younger professionals just straight out of school. We're just looking for life experience to help you handle the environment that we have. It's fast paced, and every call is different. every day is different, as it is on the road for you, Michelle.
Now, as a provincial communications operator, so let's say they're successful, they've been hired. What's the training process that they go through?
So we start with an orientation. So again, we have the 4 communication centers in the province. So we'll take you into the local communication center for some orientation. It's a couple of days. We'll send you away to Aurelia, to our general headquarters. When you're first starting with us, you start as a call taker. So that's the first part of the training. We'll send you to Aurelia to do your call taking training. That's 2 to 3 weeks of training in a training environment. There's a test that you would have to be successful at. And if all goes well there, we bring you back to the communication center and you're set up with a coach and you have one-on-one coaching for a certain number of hours. And we're with you handling all different calls. You're gaining experience. You're listening to your coworkers in the room. You're hearing every call that can come in, and you're taught how to handle all of those calls, from emergency calls to administrative calls. You never know what you're going to get, but your coach is always there with you. And once you've succeeded in your certain number of hours that you're required to do as a trainee, as a call taker, then you're signed off and you're available to basically be a call taker. You can work 24 hours, so shifts are 12-hour shifts or 10 or 8s, depending on the day. And you can be scheduled a certain number of shifts and you're on call. Following that period, it can last from 6 months to a year. Then we'll send you for some more training to become a dispatcher. So the second part of the job is dispatching. Again, we'll send you to Aurelia training. You'll come back and be set up with a coach to do a certain number of hours as a dispatcher. And if all goes well, you're signed off and then you're completely trained.
Wow. Now,
Yeah.
is there any sort of tips that you can recommend for anybody who's preparing to apply to that career? Is there any sort of special skills, training, certification that might help them through the process?
Absolutely. Part of the intake process, we will ask you to be part of our critical testing. So the critical has 2 components to it. The first part is a keyboarding component. Our applicants are required to be able to type 40 words per minute. So if I can recommend to anyone looking to apply with us, please practice your keyboarding. Keyboarding is a big part of the test, and we highly encourage. There are some free online applications you can use to practice some typing, just to ensure that you're up to speed for the test. And the other components of the critical test are a memory, multitasking type of questions. So if you can practice those, there are some applications out there where you can test the critical. I'm not sure if there's any costs to them, but certainly if you can try those tests, that would be beneficial to all the new candidates.
And as somebody who's in the recruitment unit for the PCC side of things, I know for us on the constable selection side of the house, all those little extra things, extra certifications, qualifications like boater's license, hunting license, firearms license, things that are transferable, we consider them specialized skills, personally, I call them little bonus points for when they're going through the application process. Yeah. Is there anything like that? Like, I know a lot of candidates will use the Canadian Police Knowledge Network to obtain some courses and certification to show us their motivation, their desire to continue to learn. Is there anything similar like that somebody can do through to prepare for the PCC?
We simply ask that you make yourself look more competitive. So of course, if you have schooling, we highly encourage post-secondary education. So we love to see that on your application. We like to see a very good work history. So if we ask for 3 work references, but we're very happy if you can provide us with more. At a certain point during the process, we will be calling work references. So if you're a good employee in good standing, we certainly love to see volunteer work. We love to see continued development. Any certificates you can have. We were recently seeing several applicants with some crisis intervention training.
Right.
Those are all very excellent skills and knowledge to have on your application.
Now, I think that this, working together and such, especially on a platform like this, is, beneficial for those people who maybe are thinking about a career as a constable, but just aren't 100% certain yet. Or perhaps they need some more experience, some training, things that are going to make them more competitive. And I know just recently I did a presentation out here in West Region, and we had a former PCC call taker who has now hired with the OPP and is now down in our area. So I had that gentleman speak, and it was great. And he just talked about all the skills, like the computer skills, CPIC, the same programs that we're using, that he was able to just jump right in and be able to do that so easily. So it is something to mention that if people are still wanting to be police officers but just aren't quite ready yet, that perhaps the PCC might be a great stepping stone, or they might just love it there and want to stay. But I think a great opportunity to gain those skills that they can bring over to the constable side of the house.
You're absolutely right. You stole the words right out of my mouth. We've had several of our members use it as a stepping stone. Yeah, absolutely. They come in, they learn the records management programs, they learn CPIC. Those are huge. If you already have that knowledge when you're going into police college, you're already leaps and bounds ahead of other candidates that are fresh and new to the organization. Yeah, you learn a lot about the organization and the teamwork, and you're taking those calls, you're answering the calls, and you're seeing that side of it, the operations where everything's being taken, it's put into an occurrence, the occurrence is sent to the dispatcher, and then it goes out over the air to the officers on the road. So you're seeing both sides of it. It's definitely advantageous for anyone that's thinking of a policing career to start with the PCC. And you're right, we've had some members that thought, oh, we'll give communications a try and then move on, and they've been with us, they're lifers. So it's definitely a great opportunity. We're sad to see when we have members that start with us and they move on to the road, because we'd like to keep them, but we're very
Yeah.
happy to see them continue on.
Now, one of the questions here is asking, is there an opportunity for remote employment through the PCC?
Unfortunately, there is not. We have the 4 communication centers. So I'm not sure if I've mentioned them already today, but we have one in Thunder Bay, North Bay, Orillia, and London. So they're spread out over the province. Hopefully, everyone can find one close enough to their location.
Okay. Now, I do have a question here on the police side of things from Isaac, stating that he had recently gone through the process and was contacted by Offender Transport and asking what that process is like. So, Isaac, the process is going to be very similar to what you have to go through in order to get employed as a constable, but the competitiveness isn't going to be as difficult as it would be as a constable. So it, again, like our PCC, is like a stepping stone. It gives you that training, gets you in the door, has you, working with officers side by side. So it's a stepping stone, but will give you a lot of transferable skills and training that will certainly help you in relation to hiring or applying again as a police officer. Now, do you need to have a driver's license to work at the Provincial Communication Center?
It is not a requirement, as
Okay,
long as you can arrange for transportation.
you're
So
good.
that would be different with us, yes.
Okay, but with the OPP, as a constable, you do need to have your full G license with less than 6 demerit points on your driver's license when you apply. So another question here is, the website says to apply your academic best. Can you apply more than once after a certain time period? And that's for Sergeant Koawi. Yes, absolutely. For the constable selection process, there is a 1 year on average waiting date time period from the time of your decline. So when you get your letter, it'll be dated and it will state in your letter that you have to wait 1 year from that date. Now, some of our candidates go through the process and they're so close to moving to the next stage, but perhaps just need a little bit more work, a little bit more mentoring. And in those cases, our recruiters can identify them and we make it a little bit smaller of a time period of 6 months where you will meet with a recruiter. We talk with you, kind of go over things, give you suggestions on how to be more competitive and how to be more prepared for your interview. And then from there, you would then reapply and go through the process again. So if you have applied to other police services, you can certainly still apply to the OPP if you've been declined by them, or if you've been declined by us and wish to apply to other police services, you can. The only time limit that does kind of stick across the board for all police services is if it was a decline due to your psychological testing. So that testing is across the board that it would be 1 year waiting period of time for any police service. So someone is asking, what are some advice and tips you'd give to a first year university student who's interested in pursuing a career in law enforcement? That's a great question. So one of the suggestions, obviously, is you can do a career, start a career as a PCC, call taker, dispatcher, just as we're talking about here. Other things you can also do are to look at the auxiliary program. So that is the OPP volunteer program where you dedicate 12 hours a month as well as 6 hours a month training sessions. You can go above and beyond that, and you pick your hours that you complete your 12 hours. But you're doing ride along special events. You're getting the same kind of training our officers are. All of that is essentially the same. And as well, we'll also have that opportunity to meet officers, work with them, and they'll be able to do an employee internal referral. So, showing that this is somebody whom we'd like to keep on and hire full time. Other things that you can do, making sure while you're in university that your grades that are, trying to maintain an average of over 75%. The reason that we suggest that is because it is a requirement that you obtain 75% in each and every course at the police college. So if you even fail below the 75% in any of your courses, the whole program, you would may have to repeat again, or you could be terminated if depending on the situation. So we always say, pushing yourself, obtaining those good grades, show us that you will have the ability to learn and that you have the ability to obtain and maintain higher grades. This is a great question. Are there any mental health supports for call takers? I imagine some calls would be very difficult.
Yes, thank you for bringing that question up. We do have several supports on hand. We have crisis intervention workers or community service workers that work with us day and night. They're available to speak with us as communicators and also with our callers. We also have some peer support teams arranged through the organization. If you are part of a call that could be of somewhat traumatic, we have hard to handle. We have some supports in place that they'll reach out to you just to chat, see if you'd like to talk about it further. If you'd like to, you can leave the floor and go have a one-on-one or talk over the phone, or you can say I'm okay, and they just want to check in and thank them. And yeah, there's a lot of support available for us.
I would think as a call taker and dispatcher, the difficulty of listening and hearing that initial call, dispatching the officers, and not being there at scene. For us, obviously, we're there, we're dealing with it. We know what's going on. Does that ever kind of come into play where you're like, geez, I wonder what's going on there. I hope everybody's okay. That kind of puts that worry,
Oh,
in the back of your mind to kind of wait
absolutely.
for the call.
We do, yeah. It's hard when you hear the beginning and you don't quite know what the outcome was, because we get very involved and we can be pretty empathetic towards the caller. So it is nice to see if we see how it played out in the news. It's nice to have that closure. We
Yeah.
often lack that closure. So, and I mean, we can follow up with our fellow officers when we're talking to them again over the phone or by email. It's always nice to hear the outcomes.
Okay, now someone has a question here in regards to the prep test. They are required to do that for Ottawa Police Service and are wondering if they'll be applying to the OPP. Great to hear. And wondering if it would be beneficial to include it. Absolutely. Include any sort of certification qualifications that you've obtained. As part of the OPP process, you do not have to complete the prep test. You will have to complete the prep test at the police college in order to get your basic constable certificate. The OPP, we conduct the shuttle run video, which some people know as the beep test. It's the 20-meter run between two distances as the time the beep starts to increase and you have to increase your speed. So that is part of your application for us when you do apply. But yes, most certainly any sort of qualifications or certification that is transferable to career in policing, please include them in your application. Someone here is an international student and looking to become an OPP officer. Can you please help with any steps? So the first thing is once you're done your schooling, you will have to be a permanent resident or a Canadian citizen in order to apply. And once you are one of the other two of those positions, then that's when you can apply. Now, your application process to be prior to putting your application in most cases, is going to take 3 to 4 months. So we always recommend, if you know that you have an anticipation, but be prepared that you're not going. This isn't over a weekend kind of thing where you can get your application in and then submit it on the Monday. It takes some time to gather everything. A few things to keep in mind if you are taking some time and working on your application over a period of time is to check our website and make sure that you have the most up-to-date application. As time progresses, we do make amendments and changes. And if you have an incorrect application, it could delay your file from moving forward. So prior to submitting it, make sure that you do have the most up-to-date application. And as well, making sure that everything that you have in there is in order. We have a list, it's laid out exactly what we want to see, and keep it in that list in that order. And if at all possible, try and keep all your documents facing the one direction so your recruiter isn't having to keep flipping pages as we're going through your application itself. Okay, so somebody says here, which certifications are highly recommended? There's not really that we would, highly recommend. Any sort of qualifications or certifications that you obtain will certainly be beneficial. People will come across with their firearms license, their boater's license, hunting license, martial arts, smart serve, security license. They have a DZ driver's license. Anything that you have gone above and beyond and obtained certification or qualifications for, include that. Those are going to be those bonus points. Those are going to be the bonus things that you bring to make yourself more competitive. Let's see here. So somebody's asking here, permanent resident. Okay, so somebody's already answered that question. Thank you. You guys are helping each other out. I love to see that. Someone's asked, is working in security an asset? Most certainly. But it is not the end all be all. It doesn't have to be that you don't have any security employment in your background to apply to be a police officer. It helps because you're going to deal with a lot of the same circumstances. But we do find that those candidates that are coming from different backgrounds, whether it being customer service, sales, foods, specialized services, working with mental health, working with the homeless. There's so many things that you bring to the table, your communication skills, your customer service skills, how to deal with, discrepancies or angry clients. Those are all things that you're going to be able to bring forward into a policing career. So what I suggest is as you're preparing your application and you're going through your employment history, preparing for the interview, what kind of skills can you bring or did you obtain in each of those employments that you can say will be beneficial in a career in policing? And I'm certain that's probably the same for PCC with their past employment, if they can use those transferable skills and speak to them
Absolutely.
that way.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Someone's asking about volunteering or community events. If you're looking to volunteer with the OPP, that would be through our auxiliary program. If you haven't already, please take a look at our website, www.opp.ca. On there, you will find the careers tab, and you will find information for civilian jobs, the auxiliary positions, if you're an experienced police officer, and as well just anybody looking to apply. On there, you will have our frequently asked questions. You will have videos, anything and everything that will help you prepare for the process. You will locate on our website. Someone has asked about when you are picking detachments, how do I know which detachments are looking for new recruits? Would calling each detachment to find out be appropriate? Now, thank you for your question, Ryan. Now, almost all of our detachments are in need of officers. We're a constant rotating cycle of new officers coming in, officers retiring, moving to specialized units and positions and spots opening up. So, in that particular case, what we say is pick the six of where you're willing to work. Take a look at our opp.ca site there, and you will see all our detachments. I do, as a recruiter, I do like when people call the detachments they're thinking about, just to do a little bit of research. Find out what kind of calls for service there are, how many officers there are, so that when I ask you that question, why did you pick these six detachments? It's not just because they're close to where you live or where you're familiar, but because you've done your research and you know that these detachments are going to fit your current lifestyle and your future career goals. Okay. On average, how many 911 calls do you receive in one day?
In the communication centers, well, first of all, just to educate here, we offer different services. The OPP office offers primary public safety answering point and also a secondary public safety answering point. So there's times where in certain communication centers, we will answer 911 calls offering police, fire, or ambulance. And from there, the caller would indicate what their service requirements are, and we would connect the call. And then we also answer 911 calls that come directly into the communication center for police, requesting police specifically, and not ambulance or fire. So we can take a number of those calls a day. Over the last couple of years, we've taken over 2 million 911 calls in those communication centers
Wow.
combined. So the calls are busy. We answer emergency calls, non-emergency calls. We get a lot of pocket dial calls that we handle. We try to educate the public on those as well. We've most of us have called 911 by accident with our phones in our pockets or in our purses, and we understand, and we just try to guide callers when they do that. We also take phone calls, and we support First Nation police services across the province, as well as assisting with other ministries like Ministry of Transportation or the Ministry of Natural Resources. We often get calls for them, and so we can direct the calls accordingly.
Okay. Now, someone is asking a question here about how difficult is it to apply to the OPP while working a full-time job, and does the whole process take a large amount of time? So, on the constable selection side of things, absolutely continue with your employment. You may have to, take a few days here and there for testing your interview, home interview, that type of stuff. But, we like to see that you're continuing to work, but you're also, still working on your community service. You're still dedicated to your fitness, all of that information. You're still continuing with. Now, the process itself, most candidates find it's quite quick at the beginning. So they put your application in, and within a week or two, you are notified to submit a shuttle run or a beep test video showing that you are able to achieve a level 7. Now, if you are able to reach a level 7 and you followed all the instructions on how to produce that actual video, your then application goes through a pre-screening stage. Now, the pre-screening stage, that's where we do those initial checks to see police checks, driver's license, all of that. And we go through your entire application, and we're looking for grammar mistakes, spelling mistakes. Did you address it to the right or wrong police service? And we're pulling all the information that you have included in there to show how competitive you are. Now, once your application is completed, manager will then take a look and determine if you are strong enough to move to the next stage. Now, the next stage is going to be your interview stage. Now, once your application has gone through, we're pretty quick again within a week or two to getting people contacted to set up for an interview. And once the interview's done, they range from about an hour to 2 hours, depending on how chatty you are, or how much experience you're bringing to the table. And once that is completed, we then complete a report. Manager takes a look at your entire file, including your application and our interview report, and determines if you're strong enough to move to the next stage. Now, the next stage after that would be our background investigation, where we do an extensive background into you, which also includes your finances. And when they're going through all that, you'll also be involved in doing psychological testing, in-person Sigma testing, which is ensuring that you understand and can comprehend the English language, problem solving, basic math skills, things like that. So most people find, once they put their application in, it's pretty quick within a couple weeks, a month, to and then there's that lull. In that lull is when we're doing, more background into you worldwide, and our securities unit are doing their checks and all of that. So our candidates tend to find out, in most cases, within 6 months to a year. A year being on the longer end. As the OPP, we've really finalized and we really pay attention to how that we can make this process move smoothly for everybody and as quickly as possible, still while maintaining, the integrity of the process itself. Someone's asked a question here about the auxiliary program, if it's only in specific areas or all over Ontario. We have auxiliary officers in each and every one of our detachments. So what will happen is you would apply to the OPP auxiliary program, and once you get through the initial application stage, your interview would be set up at the detachment close to where you live. So that would be how the auxiliary works. So you're not, having to move or anything. You would be posted in a detachment that's within your area that you're living in currently. How much volunteer experience does an ideal candidate usually have? So there's no set time. We like to see, and I'm sure it's the same with PCC, we like to see consistency and that, if possible, long-term dedication. The reasoning for that is I can speak as an officer. When I put my uniform on, I'm always putting others before myself. And that's the same idea behind that community focus, is that you realize that you're giving, your spare time and free time to help others, or, doing things for people who may not have the same opportunities, things like that. So, if you're showing your consistency, that consistency can be anywhere from an hour to 2 hours every week. Some people have difficulty, though, because they are working full time. They have children. They may be in school as well. So just as long as you're doing some form of community involvement, and that can include things as blood donation, platelet donations, food and clothing donations, picking up garbage out in your community, helping your elderly neighbors with their, groceries or their, outdoor lawn work, anything like that, right? So there's no minimum amount. We just want to see that consistency in which that you're dedicating. Let's see here. Oh, someone says dispatchers are definitely unsung heroes. Oh, I agree with that wholeheartedly,
Oh,
Sam.
what a nice comment. Thank you for saying that. We appreciate it.
It is very nice. Do you recruit a class of individuals each time there's openings? That's a great question, Rachel. So for us personally, what happens is it's a constant, they're always open. So the OPP, we are trying to fill 135 seats 3 times a year. And that's when the police college holds their courses in January, April, and September. And that is, put your application in when you are at your competitive best. Take a look at our website, take a look at our assessment areas, and you want to take a look and say at each of those 10 components, am I at my competitive best? And if you are, that's when you put your application in. Don't time it to anything else. Your best off is to put it in when you are competitive so that you aren't declined for anything else. For dispatching, is there certain times of the year, or is it the same for you guys as well?
We have 3 to 4 training times per year for call taking and dispatching. The dates will vary year to year, but we do have classes we like to fill as well, 3 to 4 times a year. And our application process can be quite lengthy as well, beginning from when you submit your application to us. Then we'll invite the candidate for testing, and once you're successful during one phase of the testing, you move on to the next. And just to answer another question I see in the chat, how quickly do you find out if you've passed your testing? We'd like to reply or respond as soon as possible. There are times where we can respond to you the same day. It may take us a week or two, depending on what other programs or outreach we're doing. But we'll get back to you as soon as possible with your testing results. And if you're successful, we'll invite you to the next stage.
Okay. Someone's asking about information on our forensic investigative career process. It all depends, Alice, if you're looking at it as a constable or as a civilian. So as a constable, you would have to go through the entire process, and you would have to be a first-class constable, which takes approximately 3.5 years prior to being able to apply to any special service within the OPP, including our identification or forensic unit. Now, if you're looking for a civilian type position, that is something that you can find on the website, and that you will be able to see specific career opportunities, and it will also list the requirements and suggestions on things that you should have prior to putting your application in. For dispatch or call center job, do we need any certification?
There's no certification required. Again, we require candidates to be 18 years of age, a Canadian citizen, have your high school diploma, and good working history. We do recommend post-secondary education. And as for the uniform side, we like your application to be competitive. We'd love to see volunteer. We'd like to see a really good work history. We like to see your education. We like to have a good list of every course you've taken and how we can see that applying to the communication center. But we send you and we cover all the training fees. There's no certificates required.
Okay. Now, someone's asking for a way to talk directly to a recruiter. So because we are covering the entire province, it is very difficult for us to do one-on-one specifically through the process. However, what I'd love to let people know is that we will be starting our REACH program coming up sometime in May. So if you aren't aware of our REACH program, what it is, it's a 12-week mentorship that has you matched up with, in most cases, a recruitment ambassador. So they are trained to do the recruitment side of the house, or it could actually be a recruiter. And through the 12 weeks, they kind of do one-on-one mentoring, talking about, what you're bringing to the table, giving you suggestions on how to be more competitive. They help prepare you with mock interviewing. You learn about a day in the life as an officer. So through that process, you apply, and you would apply to the REACH program, similar to the way you would apply as a constable. And we go through your application. We do a criminal check just to see if there's anything in there. And then if you are accepted, then you are matched up, and you go through the program, and you receive a certificate as well at the completion of that. So it does help our candidates. So if you're, a little uncertain, or you think you need some help, or would like some one-on-one mentorship, keep an eye on our opp.ca website out for the REACH program that should be starting next month in May. And you'll be able to sign up for that. So in order to apply to the REACH program, again, you need to be a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident, 18 years of age, grade 12 or an equivalency, you have no criminal record for which a pardon was not received, and you've got a full G license with no more than 6 demerit points on it currently. So that it's really going to help you identify areas that you need to improve upon, as well as help you prepare for the interview with the OPP. Does the PCC, do they do anything like that as well, like a REACH program or a mentorship program?
Unfortunately, not yet, Michelle, but we're always available to answer any questions. If you have questions, you can go to the website opp.ca careers, or you can email us directly at opp.pcc, so that's Provincial Communication Center, opp.pcc.jobs.at opp.ca. So oppcccjobs@opp.ca, and that's on our website. We're available to answer any questions. And if you're looking for a phone call back, just put your phone number in there, and we're happy to give you a call.
Wonderful. Someone's asking how many officers we're aiming to hire this year. As I said just a little bit earlier, we are looking to hire 135 new recruits 3 times a year for the next 5 years minimum. So they are large classes. We are one of the largest police services in Canada. So obviously we have to keep our numbers continuing with that. So now is the time to apply, most definitely. Someone's asked, stating they are eligible to reapply in September. And what are the chances for a January class, or mostly May? So, Mufasa, there's no exact time limit. It all depends on how the process goes, how competitive you are, right? The more competitive you are, the quicker through the process you're going to move. But there's no guarantees. We can't say, as you know, when your psychological testing is going to be done, your background investigation, all of that stuff. So, applying in September, is there a possibility of being in the January class? Absolutely. But we give no guarantees. So it could be January, or very well could it be the April, May class. Is there a minimum amount of years that you need to be an auxiliary before you can apply? No. We used to have that you had to stay in the auxiliary program. I think it was 2 or 3 years. That's no longer the case right now. We do like to have our auxiliaries obviously stay as long as they possibly can. But most of our candidates that have done the auxiliary program are in it for about a year. They've gained a lot of experience, a lot of community involvement, training, all of that, and are able then to really easily go through our process as a constable, because they've already kind of been prepared for it throughout their auxiliary side of the house. If a person didn't pass their psych evaluation with another police service, can they still apply? You certainly can apply, Jasmine, but you will have to wait for the full year. It is the one section of evaluations that needs that time between, but be certain that it was actually your psych exam or examination that was the reason. Sometimes you may have been declined at that stage, but there was something else that maybe was found, if background's still doing their thing. Unfortunately, though, police services aren't going to tell you the reason for the decline. But I always say, take a moment, look at our self-assessment tools and go through them and help identify where you think you kind of fell down, whether it was how did you articulate your answers during your interview. If you were declined at the application stage, perhaps your driving history isn't the greatest. Perhaps you've had a little too many and too close to time frame of involvement with police. I know someone has said, they've had some minor offenses. That's fine. We don't expect everyone to live in a perfect bubble where they've never seen or done anything, but we do expect you to lead a responsible, positive lifestyle. So if perhaps you've made some poor choices and gotten in a little bit of trouble, I always say time and distance is the best option for that, right? So show us that you can mature and you've grown, that you've learned. Perhaps you don't hang out with those people anymore, but you've learned your life lesson and you've moved on from it. So that's, I know, what we like to see as recruiters in all aspects, whether it's civilian positions within the OPP or constable or special constable. It's, I always say own it. If you've done something, own it, speak to it, and what did you grow and learn from it? That's all a stage of maturity. Does the OPP have salary increases over time, or does it cap out after reaching a first class constable? Great question. Currently, right now, when you get hired by the OPP and you are a recruit at the police college, you'll be making about $58,000. When you graduate and start on the road as a probationary constable, your salary will jump up to $74,000 a year. Now, every year in a bit, it will go up until you're at about 3.5 years, and that's when you will be at the maximum as a frontline constable at just over $102,000. Now, if you move into specialty units or you jump up in rank, obviously your salary will be increased. But we also have overtime, stat time, things like that that you can also gain money. But as part of our contracts, every 3 years, we do contract renewals where we are always looking to get, more or better benefits or an increase in pay to keep us as a competitive police service. So, because we are one of the largest police services, we tend to be one of the top three paying police services in Canada because of the size of our organization. Someone's asking if I can share the majority of the incoming OPP class 504 was offered one of their top 6 placements. I'm not sure about, we had 135 candidates. Now, as part of our process, people do put their 6 detachment posting locations in there. And, at any point in the process, they decide to change, they can prior to a job offer going out. So we have a pretty good success rate. I think the percentages we were told was in and around like an 84% success rate of getting one of your top 4 choices. Now, the OPP does their absolute best that if we aren't able to get one of your top 6, what is the next closest detachment that you may be agreeable to work at? Now, we do hope that you're willing to go wherever. This is a career, it's not just a job. But we also want our candidates happy and our recruits happy and living where they want to live. So 6 choices. In most cases, I usually talk to the recruit class from West Region as they come through after they've been on the road a little bit. We did have a few that didn't get one of their top 6, but all of them were happy with the choice that they did get. And in some cases, they were glad they didn't get one of their top 6. They actually were happier with the choice that they were offered. So, never close your mind off to it. We do our best, but sometimes we aren't able to fill, within your 6, but we do try and find what's the next closest. Someone is asking, is a university degree an end all be all? No, as we said, all you need for both PCC as well as a constable selection is a grade 12 or an equivalency in order to apply. Now, having a higher level of education certainly makes you more competitive, as Melanie said, because it's almost like a point system. So if you're just meeting the requirements, you're going to be at the baseline, and anything that's above and beyond that is going to give extra points, is going to make you more competitive. And so that is inclusive in our educational background. After taking the test, is there any possible way to know the result? Within how many days they will let you know for the next steps for the dispatcher position? So is there usually, you call and then, okay, you're moving to the next stage? Is it pretty quick moving through the stages?
We tend to communicate via email. The application comes in from the candidate through email, and so we will communicate through that email address they have provided us. And at every stage, we're very diligent at getting back to the candidate as soon as we have results. So it can be anywhere from a couple of days to a couple of weeks. You'll get an email letting you know if you were successful and if you're moving on to the next stage. If I can also touch on another question I saw in the chat while I have you, Michelle, the starting wage for communications. If when you start with us, your pay rate is $33.41 an hour. That's our starting wage. And we also offer in lieu of benefits and vacation on top of that. So there's a percentage higher, there's a percentage added on to that hourly rate. So you start at 33.41. All the training is paid for, and you'll move up the salary steps from there.
And what does it end up at? Like, what is the top pay?
Currently, under this collective agreement, we're at $40 per hour. That's for a CO2 position, call taker and
Okay.
dispatcher. There's a pay increase if you become a team leader. That's an opportunity available in the communication centers. So to be a team leader on the floor to help all the everybody through a day, they communicate with the call taker dispatchers and also the sergeant on the floor. So they're a leader there, and that's an increase in pay as well. Yeah.
Okay. Now, someone is asking, what is the ideal candidate? There's no real ideal candidate per se. Look at all 10 areas of assessment, including education, communication, special skills, your motivation, your driving, all the 10 that are on there. As long as you are competitive in each and every one of those, that is an ideal candidate. You're meeting our requirements and you're showing and doing what is absolute, to show your interest in this career. Someone's asking if volunteer firefighter is good one, if applicable. Absolutely, Tristan. Volunteer firefighter is great. It's a first responder position, so you are used to, perhaps seeing things and dealing with things that other people may not be used to. Asking about our tuition. So currently, it's not the OPP tuition. The tuition is for the Ontario Police College. So all recruits have to pay in order to obtain. Now, the OPP, we do not pay for that, but we do offer through our credit union loan that will come off your pay in order to pay for the police college, which is right now, I believe it's 15,800, something along those lines. So it is something that, because you do go through a financial background, that in most cases you would be accepted for the loan, because we've already gone and done that deep dive to make sure that you are fiscally responsible without any negative financial incidents. Okay. Will having a previous background in enforcement and investigation be helpful to the application process? Absolutely, right? So any sort of skill or training that you're bringing that could be transferable is going to be beneficial. How do I apply to the auxiliary? Take a look at our website, opp.ca/careers. You will find all our different positions and specifically the auxiliary one there, where you can actually go through and fill out the application, and it has all your, frequently asked questions, the application packages on there, everything that you need. Can I apply to be a constable before I complete my final year of my university, or should I wait until I complete my degree? Andrew, that is completely up to you. If you're hoping to be done, the end of April or perhaps a little bit longer, feel free to apply. You will need your official transcripts from your schooling. So once you graduate, you'll have to apply and get that stuff. But, if you don't want it affecting your, if you have exams and things like that, keep that in mind. But we have had many candidates that are getting close to their graduation and they started to apply prior to finishing up. And because it does take, several months to go through the process itself. Okay, someone's asking, is it possible to attend the REACH program? Yes, so the REACH program is a one-on-one mentorship that is done virtually with one of our recruitment ambassadors or one of our recruiters and some of our civilian members. So it is a program that is done virtually over 12 weeks, where you would meet once a week, kind of go over things, that type of thing, and you apply for that position. So again, it's supposed to be starting in and around May. So to keep an eye out on our social media and on our website, where we posted that you can apply for the REACH program. And again, it's the same requirements as it would be for a constable selection. When working for the OPP, schedules based on seniority. Does day or night shifts only for new officers? Wouldn't that be nice? For constables, no. When you are hired by the OPP and you are working frontline, you are expected to work days, nights, afternoons, holidays, weekends, whatever your schedule is. Most of our detachments are on a 5-4 schedule. So it ends up you get like every other weekend off. You'll work 5 days, off for four, things like that. So going through it, those will include days shifts and night shifts. They're 10 hours or 12 hours, depending on the detachment and the shift work. But yes, be prepared. And even in our special units, right? They're on calls. They could be called out at different days or nights. And there are some of our specialized units. Like I'm lucky enough in recruitment that I'm working days, but there are times where I work in the evenings or weekends and stuff. But it all works out. So yes, be prepared for long days. But the days go by pretty quick because you are quite busy dealing with all different types of stuff. For the comm center, what kind of, do you guys follow the 5-4 schedule as well?
Most of our communication centers follow a 4 on, 4 off rotation, so which includes 2 days, 2 nights, 4 days off. We have some employees that do follow a 5-5-4 schedule as they do at detachment, and our shifts are typically 12 hours, typically a 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. start, and they go till 6 or 7 p.m. and vice versa. We also do work evenings, weekends, statutory holidays, as do the officers on the road. So 24 hours.
Okay. Well, we're getting to the tail end of our presentation today, and there's going to be a lot of questions we weren't able to get to, and I do apologize for that. But we are here every Tuesday at 2 o'clock, where we do these live events. You can also ask questions on any of our social media, and we're quick to get back to you as soon as we can. We also have our emails, which you can find on our website if you've got any specific questions or anything that way that we can answer as best we can. The best thing that I can tell you is go through each of the areas of assessment. Make yourself as competitive as possible in all areas, including your fitness. And from there, you're just going to go through the stages and you're going to maintain that. So, it's everything is on our system. We wanted today's session to be a lot about our communication center. They are a vital part of our organization. I don't know what we would do without you, to be honest. But it's also, like we said at the beginning, it potentially could be a stepping stone into a career of policing, or you could absolutely love communication center and decide to stay there for your 30 years. So something to think about. But yeah, we're at the end of the day, and we're all done here. Is there anything else that you would like to say, Melanie, before we finish up?
Thanks for having me, as well as the Communication Center Appreciation Week. Thanks again for recognizing them. A career as a communications operator. I've been here 22 years, and it's a great career. Every day is different. I look forward to it. It has great teamwork. We work with some wonderful people, wonderful officers on the road, and all the specialty units. So very thankful. If you're looking to apply, visit our website, opp.ca careers, and we look forward to your application.
And that's the same. We are obviously still hiring, and get your applications ready and get them in. And thank you everyone for joining. Sorry if we weren't able to get to your questions, but please join us again next week, where hopefully we'll be able to get to them. Take a look at our website, opp.ca/careers, where you will find all the information, and follow us on social media.